You know, Mayor de Blasio took a lot of heat after his first few months in office, including for yours truly. A lot of political fighting going on over his handling of charter schools, universal pre-K. Mayor also bumped heads with Governor Cuomo. A lot of people thinking, hey, the guy's not ready for prime time. Definitely got maneuvered here as that played out. However, behind the scenes, especially in the last few months, there's been some dealing here, which certainly as it relates to Working Families Party and a few other handlings that make it look like maybe we underestimated just how much savvy this mayor has, and certainly as it relates to Working Families Party and how he navigated that, and how it looks like the state Senate probably will go the way of the Democrats right now, and that'll help out at least some of the mayor's agenda. Did we jump the gun on him a little bit or no?
I don't think anything's changed. I think the only thing that's changed, none of these people have changed, none of their attributes or qualifications or qualities have changed. What's changed is the point we're at in the calendar. We're through legislative session in Albany, we're done with the budget, we're done with the legislative wrangling, and now we're in the political season. First and foremost, our mayor is a political operative. You've never seen him and his team be as alive and enthusiastic and as energetic as they were negotiating the Working Families Party, Cuomo piece, and now this state Senate, mainline Dems, Independent Democratic Conference. If we were to jump back tomorrow to emergency legislative session in Albany, I suspect we would see the governor and his team ascended because that's what they do. I don't think anything has changed other than the calendar.
Well, the thought was, for a lot of reasons, from his communications director that left this before she even came in, kind of. We don't have to get back on that story, but the point was that he never was on message the right way, and either he was tone deaf on some of the things he said or didn't handle it the right way. Has that changed or no?
It's gotten a little better, but I would say that both the budget director, Dean Houlihan, and Tony Shores, the first deputy mayor, are the ones spending a lot of time on the nuts and bolts of union negotiations and contracts and the numbers, all the things that the former county executive Vanderhoff was known for being hands-on with himself, which is very different than what we see with this mayor. We're seeing another photo spread, I think in New York Magazine or The Observer, with his team showing off the diversity of City Hall. You know, like someone... He won, and now we should be doing something else. But I really think that once we get back to Albany post-campaigning,
get back to normal.
I agree with Michael, and I also think this is really a desperate governor's. This is a desperate governor's function. I mean, he put de Blasio back in the limelight because he needed him, and so when you really look at it, nothing's changed much except the governor has decided that he really did need him in this particular case.
I got a question about. And this is from the public's perception of, does this stuff always go on, or is this the exception that we ought to pay attention to? And for those of you who may not have followed, New York State Senator Tom Libous was indicted on charges that he lied to the FBI. The indictment says Libous lied about arranging a law firm job and an inflated salary for his son. This looks like bad news for Governor Cuomo, who was close friends with Libous. Cuomo even attended the son's wedding reception. Time's going on to say the indictment effectively could deprive the governor of his most powerful and sympathetic ally within the Senate Republican majority. But forgetting the governor's relationship, patronage jobs and where people get placed and the access that may then work as a quid pro quo. Does this happen a lot more than the public knows or suspects, or what's the reality here?
Well, first of all, Tom Libous is an awful nice guy. I don't know if you've met him, but
once or twice.
He really is a genuinely nice person, and so I feel badly for the whole family and hope it'll work out. That being said, yeah, I mean, it goes on quite a bit where, I mean, the idea is for those in executive power, you want to put people in who can do their job. But having said that, if you know people that are somehow involved and can do the job, then it goes on. I don't know in this case, though. It's a little strange because this one's not quite the same. But I don't think people should become too cynical about that. That's all. People say, oh,
look.
That's
the danger of it.
Yeah, he's a Republican. Look, he's putting Republicans in. Well, yeah, that's what they do. And for those of us who didn't put Republicans in all across, I got criticized by both sides, you know. But the fact of the matter is that these kinds of things, forgetting the criminality potential here, do go on.
It's a very odd situation. He's not being accused of wrongdoing in the underlying thing, but in lying about that thing. Tommy Libous
To
is
the
a good
FBI.
guy because you can't lie to federal officials. Apparently, you can lie to local and state officials, but not federal officials. Little gap in the criminal
You know,
code.
Richard, covering Albany for, what, 25, 30 years, the best thing I think we could do to Albany is get a big spotlight and keep it on Albany 24 hours a day. I really think if we had a lot more media coverage in Albany, a lot of these weird shenanigans and so on would not go on. It's my contention. You know, I've already used some strong words to describe some officials in Albany as crooks. I don't back off of that because many of these
And
guys
every time
have
you
side
do it,
deals.
our friend Richard Brodsky has
Right,
a near aneurysm.
right.
Yeah. This isn't the same story, but I always think that the public wants it both ways with Albany. Albany was designed to be a one-day-a-week job when they first created it and people had their full-time job somewhere else. Now, if they're not there 3-4 days a week, public's like, oh my God, they're not doing their jobs. But then we turn around and say, well, what other job can you possibly hold down that you work at for 1, maybe 2 days a week that you can actually provide qualified service? You're going to have a job that's predicated on access and influence. And then we, the public, sit back and throw our arms up and say, my God, I can't believe he's at a law firm. I'm not connoting this case and that, but he's at a law firm and his clients are trying to get business with the state. Oh, gambling in River City. Like, we get what we deserve in many ways. Nobody wants to hear it, but pay him a full-time job, make him work a full-time job, don't let him get side gigs, and then you eliminate half of this stuff. I don't know. I know this was the Sun. It's not the same story, but it always, when you get good and decent people and they go up there and they're expected to still pay the mortgage and everything else, and they don't, and then, I don't know. It's a
Well, how do you
circular
feel
problem.
about it, though, Richard?
No,
That's what I'd
you know
like
what
to know.
I mean? I just don't think you can do both things and do them well.
But I think you're right. No, I think you're right. It's time to reassess it. And actually, Rob Astorino, who's running for governor, said it best when he said, you know, I prefer not to have them there that often. They do more damage when they're up there than we need.
You can't overlook the frame of this, though. All the prosecutions and indictments coming out in Southeast Queens and Northern Manhattan and the Bronx, there's an idea in an election year that they had to move forward on some case for somebody that didn't look like the rest of the suspects.
I got to do this in less than a minute. Fracking, Andrew, we talked about this yesterday. The significance is, doesn't matter what the state does. Now local municipalities can say, not in my backyard. Has there been any fallout yet?
Oh, well, we've been hearing counter-arguments that it's really just limited to the fracking case because of the specifics of the law and the way the fracking law was written, but it does really raise some questions about home rule, especially when we look at casinos and casino development, which is a similarly big money issue that's in development right now, and municipalities don't have the ability to veto placement of a casino if they don't want it in their community. I haven't heard of, I think Saratoga Springs is the only place I've heard of that doesn't want one, where there actually was a bid that was placed
Well,
there.
this is what we call on TV segue. When we come back, the casino gold rush in New York. Where will the new casinos be located? And that expansion happening just as they say, across the river in New Jersey. They're going to be losing casinos, and that has nothing to do with legislation. That's about the bottom line. What is going on along the boardwalk, and what does it mean for casinos in New York? Should New York be buyer beware? We're going to get into that after this.